Kia ora and welcome to Shared Lunch. We're in a sunny and pretty windy San Francisco, standing here on the Golden Gate Bridge. And today we've got another special episode. It's Kraken, and we'll be speaking with co-CEO Dave Ripley.
Investing involves risk. You might lose the money you start with. We recommend talking to a licensed financial advisor. We also recommend reading product disclosure documents before deciding to invest. Everything you're about to see and hear is current at the time of recording.
Dave, welcome to Shared Lunch. Thanks so much for joining us.
Great to be here.
Hey, it's been a whirlwind trip for us. You're second on our US tour, and it was really cool on the plane in Washington, D.C. this morning, and a great place to start, I thought, which was we read a headline that Kraken signs a contract with the government. So I thought maybe you could start by telling us a little bit about the breaking news.
Yeah. I never really thought this time would happen where there's like a huge amount of crypto news and it's coming out of Washington, D.C. or any government center for that matter. But nonetheless, we're here. Yeah, so look, the news today, not to downplay it at all, but I mean, I think it's one part in a much bigger dynamic going on. So the news today was, the Department of Commerce, they're going to publish some of the kind of like U.S. economic data on a blockchain. There it'll be attested to, validated, time-stamped, all those good things that you kind of get with like a public blockchain that has, attestation and all those types of things. So that's what that's about. But there's certainly a bigger story around what's going on in DC and, specifically with governments becoming a customer of crypto. I mean, I think one of the more basic and frankly, maybe even more interesting pieces are, governments becoming holders of Bitcoin. And that's happening in the U.S. You have the U.S. government doing it, and you have a number of states that are saying, hey, our state sovereign fund is going to start buying Bitcoin. And that's happening for probably, I don't know, about 4 or 5 states already, Texas, Wyoming, a handful of them out there. We, of course, see it in other countries, El Salvador, and I don't know exactly what's the latest on, across the globe. But yeah, it's interesting. And that in of itself is, of course, still just a small part of all the things that we're seeing kind of come out of various different governments with regard to crypto.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about Kraken's customers and who you're supporting every day to help in the crypto space. Sure.
So, look, I'd break it down in 3 different groups: consumer, professional trader, individual advanced trader, institutions. I'll start with that middle group. I mentioned before, pro traders, individual advanced traders. That's kind of our sweet spot from our history, where we really went after first. For the audience here, if you're familiar with like an Interactive Brokers or something like that, but it's that individual advanced trader is like looking for all the complex order types, many asset classes, derivatives, leverage, looking for a sophisticated UX with a lot of analytical tools, indicators, all of those features that allow them to kind of like build trading strategies and execute on them. And then the third thing is probably like highly performant, low latency, all those types of things. That's kind of that group. That's where we, have built out all of those things that I just described, probably better than anyone else in the industry. More recently, we've moved into consumer. When I say more recently, probably about 4 or 5 years ago. And it turns out that after you've built all of this more complex stuff for pro, it's actually pretty easy to build a more simplified consumer experience. And so we've had great success there as well. And then finally, institutions. So we serve a number of different institutions. We kind of break it down in a few different buckets. One being trading firms, and these are kind of the trading firms, again, similar to the pro traders, very sophisticated, large trading teams doing, high frequency trading firms, trading via API, thousands, tens of thousands of orders, trades per day, that type of thing. The next would be asset management firms. So this is the big money, pensions, endowments, big stock funds, big mutual funds, hedge funds, all that type of stuff. And then the last would be banks, brokers, and fintechs. So Sharesies kind of falls in that last category for us.
That flows nicely, like the relationship we have with Sharesies. So one of the big parts of our process once we decided to do crypto, and huge amount of due diligence around that, like technology, the solutions we can offer to our customers. The one thing critical in this space, security. So I'd just love for you to share with our audience today a little bit about how Kraken thinks about security, and particularly given there's been some very high profile crypto cases, either hacking or security or and ultimately loss of money. So just how you think about that as a business or as an individual.
None involving Kraken. But yeah, look, this has been a super meaningful topic in crypto, of course. It turns out that when you have the ability to hold the funds on your own and transactions are irreversible, security becomes super meaningful. Lo and behold, probably unsurprising. But Kraken has a long history in this, with respect to security. It's frankly one of the founding tenets of the business. There's one of the first, really the first crypto exchange out there was a company called Mt. Gox. It ultimately was, hacked, had security issues, and went down. But actually, earlier in its life, there was a security issue, kind of a couple years before the one that actually took the company down. And when that first security event happened, Jesse, co-founder and CEO of Kraken, was already in the industry, already knew many of the meaningful people in the industry, and they gave Jesse a call because he was already a fantastic entrepreneur, tech entrepreneur, and was able to kind of figure out tough challenges, and called him out there to go help Mt. Gox, and which he did, and he helped get them back and moving. And on his way back, he had a couple thoughts. One was, wow, that place really isn't doing security the right way and doing all the things that they need to do in order to be fully secure. The other thing he thought was someone needs to do that, and that led to Kraken. And so that was kind of the foundation of it. The other co-founder of Kraken often refers to Kraken as a security company with an exchange on top. But really, the way we achieve it, it is security in depth. It cuts across every function of the company. It's not just the security team. It's not even just the engineering team. You think about customer support and compliance and finance, and all of these various different teams have a role to play. We also have one of our values is called productively paranoid. And what that really means is that productively is the piece of hey, let's not be too paranoid, but let's question things. Anytime there's something that doesn't look as it should be for whatever reason, and that might just be oh, hey, someone forgot to do X, Y, Z, was that really intentional or not? Let's look into it. And that pervades across all 2,000 plus Krakenites. And that's a really meaningful part of how we pervade security across every corner of the company. So we take it super seriously. We know that it's not always top of mind for our customers, but over time we think kind of investing in that leads to a lot of trust, whether it's clear where that trust is coming from or not, or that it's just Kraken's known to be highly trusted.
What are the other values of the company? I like the wording, productively paranoid.
Productively paranoid. So most of the value set for Kraken is really tied to crypto values.
Right.
Right. And so crypto values are kind of this frankly this in a way libertarian set of values about freedom, freedom, independence, all these different aspects, and that's kind of core to our value set. So Kraken's values are very closely tied to crypto values.
So let's just step back a little bit and talk a bit more about you. I know you've been 9 years at Kraken, and I'd just love to hear a little bit about how you came to be here, a little bit about Dave before Kraken, just a bit about your story.
Yeah, so definitely a crypto dinosaur, that's for sure. I guess it's 9 years at Kraken. I founded a company in the crypto space 2013, so it's actually now been over a decade that I've been in the space. That company was acquired by Kraken in 2016.
How do you?
Yeah, Glidera.
Glidera, sorry, yeah.
And that was acquired by Kraken in 2016, so that, like you said, puts me at about 9 years at Kraken. Most of the time, I joined as chief operating officer was in that role for a good number of years, I don't know, 6, 7 or so, and then more recently, moved into the CEO role, now co-CEO with Arjun Sethi right now at Kraken.
We have a co-CEO model at Sharesies as well.
Yeah, I caught that. That's great.
And prior to that, like, what was you said you're a crypto dinosaur, but it was, crypto's not that old. What was the life before?
Yeah, so kind of a two-part career before my move into crypto. So started my career as an engineer, was engineer in undergrad, software engineer. I worked in what we called at the time mobile, and now of course every company is mobile tech, and has mobile devices. But back in this time period, it was very, very new. The largest mobile device at the time was the Palm Pilot,
right?
Followed by the BlackBerry, and then I don't know, it was like some Microsoft devices after that or whatever. So early days of mobile, what we did is we basically built mobile applications for enterprise software, which meant that the company I worked for, Cyclo, they eventually got acquired by SAP. And so we're kind of mobilized in those types of things. And SAP was like, okay, we can't figure out this mobile shit, so let's like acquire this company who's already doing it for our software, kind of independently. And so anyways, that was kind of part one of my career as software engineer, product manager, then business school. And then I worked at BCG where I served a bunch of different financial services firms. And so that was kind of the second piece.
Were you focused on mobile for that as well? Was that
I was not. No, it was one of those things where it was like I kind of thought about it as like the in some ways the worst timing possible, because I was there in mobile when it was like the Palm Pilot and BlackBerry and so forth. And then about the time that I was graduating business school was right around, it was 2007, and the the iPhone was hitting right around then, and so I pivoted away from it, which was like you couldn't get worse time. So I actually kind of thought about that the many times through the bear and bull cycles in crypto, where it's like, hey, am I gonna like
right, yeah. How am I gonna time this?
But for a million reasons, I never wanted to leave crypto, and I'll definitely be in this space till I die.
Presumably BCG would have been a big player in that mobile transition for large companies and stuff. And now just that was sort of the AI change we're going through now, and in various places has been compared to like the last large platform change being mobile. Like, are you seeing any sort of similarities or like anything different about what we're working through at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested in what you guys are doing in AI as well. So we're doing a handful of things. The first is we have a number of operational parts of the company. This is kind of like what I would say, like most companies, like V1 for mobile, which is we have customer support, we have compliance function with big operational teams, and they do a bunch of work with data and of course interacting with customers and all this type of stuff. And we're finding that, of course, like many companies, we can use AI to like automate a ton of this shit. So that's kind of phase one, step one, what we're doing. Step two, I would say, is to like build it more directly into the product. So instead of, opening up a Kraken app where you have like an interface and you can go and click on all the buttons and pull up the lists and all the views and graphs and so forth, you just interact with AI prompt.
Yeah.
We also just made an acquisition last week. We announced Capitalize.ai, and they basically have some tech where you can build trading algos, trading strategies using AI. It's kind of a prompt, and then you can build a different trading strategy based on a prompt. So,
and it like spits out like an algorithm for you?
Exactly. So that's kind of what I would say is like phase two, where it's more of just like the product becomes, the product and the interface, kind of become AI, right? And then phase three, that's like kind of it's up to our imagination what that is. I mean, I think there could be some interesting things how kind of like crypto and AI come together.
That's literally going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Like you asked what we're thinking about, and like we're having a lot of fun at the moment. The operational stuff's happening, right? Like the adding time to engineers' hands and all that sort of stuff and all their day. And one of the things we're having a lot of fun thinking about is like 800,000, or in our case 850,000 different UIs, or because everyone's going to experience this so differently, and it really does change the way. But it's super interesting to think about. You're sort of right in the middle of these two platform changes, really, right? One being the crypto and the blockchain space, and then this AI. So how are they intersecting, and what sort of the future you might see from that?
Well, I think this is, it's definitely, we get into the theoretical. I mean, there are some like crypto AI projects out there and so forth, but I mean, in a lot of ways, I mean, again, this is going to feel pretty theoretical, but in a lot of ways, AI is very, can you look at it and be like, hey, this is very centralizing. And of course, that's the meme or even the fear out there that there's, what the movies are made of, right? It's like this AI thing is going to take over humankind and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Why is it centralizing? Well, you need all this compute power you put in one place, and these LLMs, they get really sophisticated, and you have one or several LLMs that are very sophisticated, huge amount of compute power. It all kind of sits in one place. Who owns the switch for it, and so forth. It's very different. A centralized tech is, quite the exact opposite of crypto, right? Very decentralizing.
Yeah.
Take something like money, which is, meaningfully centralized today, central banks and so forth. And you have crypto now, and it's like very decentralized. The networks are owned by the participants and so on and so forth, right? And so you kind of think, and if you're someone like, myself, you look at those two different paths and you say like, okay, well, there's a lot of benefits of the decentralized approach. And a lot of really meaningful benefits, we think, right? It's kind of more of the, individual and freedom and ability to opt in or out and control your own participation and all those types of things, as opposed to having it dictated for you. And that's kind of like a great thing for freedom and independence and all these things that we think are pretty important, right? So kind of the question is, well, like if these two things are really big and meaningful, and this one tech seems to be fairly centralized, how can crypto play a role to kind of like change that course? Or actually, can we combine the two and actually then have some type of like decentralized AI? Even though I just got done saying that, like, on the face of it, it seems very centralized.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that's kind of like when I think about crypto and AI and the phase 3, I think about like, hey, how can we pull that off?
Yeah, it's because even like this, like the decentralized nature of crypto, like and the centralized world of reserve banks and all this sort of stuff, like they are converging already, right? Like they're coming together, and like, how do you see that? Do you sort of see there's a happy path forward for both of them, or?
Yeah, like jumping over to financial services, and so stepping aside from the AI combo. This is a huge thing that we're seeing right now today in crypto in our space, which, I mean, frankly is super relevant for our conversation, because here we are with a, traditional stock equity business, wealth company, and you guys are integrating crypto. And the reality is we see that across a lot of our markets. We see it in Europe, we see it in the US, across many of our markets where companies are starting to do this, or they're in progress of doing this, like adding crypto. So, banks, brokers, fintechs, right? Adding crypto into their offerings. We had a similar partnership is what Kraken is doing with Sharesies. We did with Bunk Bank, which is a large challenger bank in Europe, in the Netherlands, and they've seen great success with it. And they have, and then we're frankly in conversation right now with basically all the large banks and brokers in the US about the same thing. Now, they might not move quite as quick as you guys, or they definitely won't move as quick as you guys. But lo and behold, I mean, they're all
the conversations are.
Yeah, they're very serious about this path, and they have teams against it, and they're getting RFPs going and looking to figure out how they're going to make it happen. Like
prior to starting at Sharesies, I worked in a bank. And so this is 9 years ago now, and we had the founder of Ethereum come along to speak to us at that time, and Ethereum was tiny at the time. So already those conversations were happening, but none of the banks have made progress really yet in actually delivering that. But I can, it feels like there's now evidence of that happening, right? Like there's really large brands around the world where that is happening. I think the other thing is crypto companies are going to offer. Yeah, they're going the other way as well. Yeah. Right. And that's like the other thing is going to happen. And then the third thing that's going to happen is crypto tech will enable kind of traditional financial products like equities, tokenized equities being one of those examples. Let's just dive into that now. Tokenization of more traditional asset equities. Like I want to talk things like housing is a big one that's been talked about in New Zealand at the moment. I mean, there's lots of sort of alternative assets, like not just altcoins, but art or all these sorts of things. Like, just what's the world as you see it with regards to tokenization?
So that's, I think, jumping to like kind of like, you know, a number of steps down the line. So like, let's build our way up there.
Yeah, great. I was just going to say, let's take the steps.
So like, I mean, the first step is, so we talk about tokenizing real world, you know, assets that are in TradFi, stablecoins. Stablecoins are actually, I mean, that is effectively it. You basically, you know, you create this token on a blockchain. You back it 1-to-1 with fiat currency, in most cases dollars, with, you know, Tether or USDC, and that is a tokenized asset, a tokenized, you know, single dollar of, you know, US dollar.
For whatever reason, I had not made the connection with the other assets. That's a great example. But just, you know, one being the most boring example you can think of, probably. Versus like sort of where it might go. But that's a great example.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Well, part of the reason I go there is because now let's talk about tokenized equities, which is something Kraken just recently launched, XStocks, and we can talk about that more in detail. But the technology, I mean, for someone who understands stablecoins, like, okay, I got this token and it's backed 1-for-1 by some dollar sitting in a bank account. Well, tokenized equities, XStocks, our implementation of it is exactly the same. There's this token that rides on a blockchain, several different blockchains actually, you know, we now support. And it's backed 1-for-1 by a share of Tesla stock or Apple stock or whatever it might be, right? And that's the basic premise of the technology. These are just basically asset-backed tokens. And so that you're kind of allowed, it's a hybrid in some ways, right? I mean, we're still talking about dollars, but now they're just on a different set of rails. We're still talking about traditional equities now just on a different set of rails. And so it's kind of combining the two, if you will, you know, because there are some benefits of dollars today that, you know, people want to hold dollars. People accept dollars. They are less volatile than pretty much all the cryptocurrencies out there, and there are various different, you know, advantages that they still have today. I think some of those will go away over time, for what it's worth. And then much the same, I mean, obviously equities, I mean, there's a huge number of benefits, you know, to public equities and so forth in that whole structure. So this is basically kind of combining the two, but we could just keep going on from there, right? We can go on from there to, you mentioned real estate. I think that one's a little bit, you know, further down. I mean, I think more of the, for what it's worth, I think more of the like higher liquid assets are going to be, at least in the near term, are probably where we're going to see like bigger adoption. For what it's worth. Like there might be some use cases that are more narrow for more illiquid assets, I think, so like real estate. But I think the broader adoption, bigger adoption is probably going to come from more liquid assets. You know, the most liquid asset out there is the US dollar, I'm pretty sure. And then we kind of move across there and think about the other liquid assets. That's where we're going to see the adoption of, you know, tokenized assets.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves now, but you know, you can think about like if it was property, then what's the part to play of a bank if you can sort of fractionalize your property and is sort of achieve some sort of ownership over time through that, or with regards to public markets, like do you have you thought about what that means for public markets into the future, or is that just sort of something that you think will work its way out? Given if it's tokenized, we're already seeing private assets being tokenized and stuff, right? So.
You know, it's an interesting question. I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen now that you have tokenized dollars or tokenized equities, right? I mean, so again, we just start with tokenized dollars. Well, you can move them globally for no cost or near no cost, right? And you can move them globally for near no cost nearly instantly. You know, you kind of go down the line. These things are just, you know, not possible otherwise. You can also now, you know, integrate them into what is DeFi, right? And so these are decentralized exchanges, decentralized lending protocols, where we actually have people out there that can go to DeFi and borrow stable coins against some other, you know, crypto assets from, you know, thousands of people all at once on a DeFi network, which is just kind of amazing. And you think about the level of I don't know, kind of like peer-to-peer, decentralized liquidity that then provides is really amazing. And so then you can start integrating these stable coins into various different smart contracts where they can be, a party to like an AI agent someday, actually interacting with these assets. And then the same is true for tokenized equities. We can start thinking about all the various different things that, can be done with tokenized equities as well, now that they're, permissionless, movable, all these types of things. So
it's cool to think about, huh? Like just the change, and who knows how it'll get there. Like, I think one thing we can probably both say is best guesses. I think I sort of believe in the future. It's like sort of what's the path is sort of like super interesting bit. Do you think there's like a penetration point, or it's like a level of scale or something that where something tips, or?
Yeah, that's a good question. We, in crypto in the early days, and even still today, I frankly haven't had this discussion too much recently, but yeah, this, where does the S curve hit? Where are we at on the S curve? Where did things tip? And, I mean, I don't think we're at that like vertical part of the S curve for crypto generally right now, still not today. I mean, I think there's still more penetration to get to, but I don't know that we're that far off, honestly. Once we get to a place where there's a significant number of people that, own crypto and are using crypto daily, just kind of like the level of, demand to build applications for them will just kind of like continually grow, and we'll just see this flywheel move. And I think, adoption will just really, really spiral at that point.
Cool. Well, it's been a great chance to chat and meet you as a key part.
Of course,
It's very cool to do that.
Awesome.
Over here, so appreciate your time there. The last question, we've got tens of thousands of people on a wait list already for this product, so there's clearly a lot of interest from our customer base. We're getting close, and a bunch of those people will be familiar with crypto, and they'll come in and they'll have expectations, and we'll keep building product for them. But there's also going to be a bunch of people who are doing this for the first time, so I'd just love to hear what thoughts you have to give to anyone who's listening to this and about to start investing in crypto for the first time.
Sure, that's a great question. Look, I mean, I got into crypto a long time ago. I think crypto as a technology provides, a set of technology that at its core is, faster, cheaper, and more global. Fortunately for those of us in crypto, that is kind of like the path of the world, to look for those things. The world is becoming more global. Commerce is becoming more global, and therefore we need, faster and cheaper rails to get all of that done. I think there's enormous amount of innovation happening in the space, even beyond just payments. And we look into all different aspects of, trading in something that's called DeFi, decentralized finance. That's another key word of this, which is decentralized. So kind of like historically, or at least, in recent hundreds of years, financial services have largely been centralized by a few central banks, large individual banks. Now this is actually a technology where the individuals, the participants in the network, actually own a part of the network. And so I think it's a fantastic place for people to check out.
Dave Ripley, co-CEO Kraken, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it.
Awesome.